So though Brent Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners may not have a commit in the class of 2024 yet, that has not stopped them from turning their attention to the future in the class of 2025 and grabbing one of the most coveted prospects in that class. A quarterback that plays his high school football for Rock Hill High School in Prosper, Texas, and an individual that I've actually gotten to see live. And of course, today we're talking about coveted quarterback Kevin Sperry, who's just committed to the Oklahoma Sooners. We need to break this down, but before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Are you excited that Kevin Sperry has committed to Oklahoma? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and comment down below as those interactions are massive. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And as I stated in the intro, though Brent Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners may not have a commit yet in the class of 2024, which, by the way, I don't think is any reason to be concerned at all. There is still nothing but time and opportunity in front of the Oklahoma Sooners, and they are in good positions for several prospects in the 2024 cycle. But though they may not have a commit in the 2024 cycle, that is not stopping them from building their future, and they get what I believe is a massive commitment from a very talented prospect, Kevin Sperry. Now, per 24/7 Sports, Kevin Sperry stands 6'1", 200 pounds, and I actually got to see him play live at a 7-on-7 a year ago around this time. And what's interesting is I've talked about that 7-on-7 circuit several times. I've talked about several of the players I got to watch there, whether we're talking about Jaden Wayne, Reuben Owens, Jonte Cook. It was absolutely loaded. And several times I've talked about there being a quarterback at that event that really blew me away. There were several talented quarterbacks, but I kept watching one quarterback in particular who was hyper impressive. And finally, I went over and asked Brandon Drum, hey, who's that guy? And he told me, well, that guy right there is in the class of 2025. He has a ways to go before he comes out. But remember the name. It's Kevin Sperry. And he was hyper impressive during those 7-on-7s. I mean, he stood out as much as any individual in the nation, and if you've been around my channel, you know how much I thought of Jonte Cook. You know how much I thought of Reuben Owens, and at that 7-on-7, Kevin Sperry was just as impressive as any prospect there, and I genuinely mean this. So much so that Marcus Sharp of Sharp Sports and I were talking about him consistently throughout the day when we were watching. We were both incredibly impressed. He was well above his years in poise and decision-making, and that's something you just love to see, and I love when these quarterbacks are competing in these 7-on-7 circuits. I know they can get a bit of a bad rep, but so long as you have solid coaching with the 7-on-7s and you play in solid high school competition, I think it can be very positive for quick decision-making and accuracy, and Kevin Sperry had them both. Now, one interesting thing about this is that Kevin Sperry's father played linebacker for Washington State, and Washington State was after the very talented signal caller. So this is a big win for the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, as we sit here and talk about this, Kevin Sperry does not yet have his final ranking for the 24/7 Sports 2025 cycle. And in fairness, they only have about the top 70 guys listed so far, and I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit surprised he wasn't in there. So I am hyper intrigued as to where he opens up in the ratings and where he will finish, because I do not believe they will be the same. If I had to bet, he will probably be a riser in the class of 2025, a name you absolutely want to keep up with, so it's great that Oklahoma gets this commitment early. But one of the things that I found super intriguing about this is that Kevin Sperry's father played college football for Washington State, and Washington State was one of the teams after the very coveted signal callers, yet it's the Oklahoma Sooners that gets this big recruiting win. And one thing we've talked about consistently here on the channel is what recruiting wins can do for your program, and specifically what quarterback wins can do for your program. Because as we sit here and talk, the Oklahoma Sooners have a long ways to go before that 2025 class really comes around. But you already have a very talented quarterback, someone who, like I just said, when I was at the 7-on-7, impressed me as much as anybody, and it was not just me. People were talking about this. See, you have that guy right there who's impressing people in the 7-on-7 circuits, and he has another year to be able to lay the foundation to be able to talk to people in his class and even in the class of 2024 and recruit for the Oklahoma Sooners. And this is something that I find powerful. It's something I talk about whenever we talk about Alabama recruiting. It's something I talk about whenever we talk about any institution recruiting. Whenever I see these massive events, I love it. Whenever your blue chip quarterback shows up, whenever your top ranked recruits show up, whether they're a quarterback or not, it just so happens that the quarterback position carries so much weight. This is a truth that we all know. but it's not relegated to the quarterback position. It's something I talk about consistently. If your top guys are showing up to your recruiting events, that's something that's going to inspire confidence. Remember, guys, football at the end of the day is a brotherhood, and part of that brotherhood is the bond you create. And these guys that show up to all of these events to help foster that bond, to help get more people involved, to help get more people on board, that's a very powerful thing. And you get to start off your 2025 class with a signal caller that personally I believe is going to be one to watch in the 2025 cycle. I was a little bit surprised he was ranked outside the top 70, but still a long ways to go. I'm really interested to see where he opens and where he ends up because, like I already said, I do not believe they will be the same rating. I think he's going to be a riser, but you get the point I'm trying to make here. You can start to see the picture I'm trying to paint you. You get a very talented quarterback in with nothing but time and opportunity until the class of 2025 rolls around. And that's going to be a guy that's going to be able to help lay the foundation. And we also have to remember, this is a staff for the Oklahoma Sooners that doesn't necessarily need help in laying foundations when it comes to recruiting. Brent Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners just had a losing season where just about everything went wrong, and yet they recruited a top 5 class in the nation. They recruited yet another top 10 class in transfer portal acquisitions. They're able to recruit at an elite level, and getting in guys such as Kevin Sperry that can help lay the foundation for a class that's in the future early, this is something we have got to watch. But I know Oklahoma fans have got to be very excited. This is a really talented quarterback. I've talked about him several times before. If you've tuned into the lives, you've probably heard me mention him 1 or 2 times, saying that when I was at the 7-on-7, Jonte Cook was so impressive, Ruben Owens was so impressive, but there was this quarterback who is real young, who has a ways to go, but that's a guy you need to remember. Well, that was Kevin Sperry, and now I can't wait to see what the future holds. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.